There's a voice inside your head. It speaks without your permission. It judges, it worries, it replays. And most of the time, you listen. Not because it's wise, but because you've never learned to question it. That voice says you're not good enough, that you're too late, that everyone else is doing better, and quietly, you believe it. Not realizing this one belief is the root of your suffering. Because here's the truth no one tells you. Not every thought is true. Not every thought is yours. Some are echoes of childhood pain. Some are borrowed from culture, school, shame, fear. And yet they steer your life like invisible hands on the wheel. You think you're choosing your path, but you're just obeying your thoughts. The ones that say, don't try. Stay small. Play safe. They don't. Come with chains. They come dressed as logic, reason, intelligence. But it's not intelligence. It's the mind pretending to protect you. And it does a perfect job of keeping you stuck. The most powerful prison is the one you don't realize you're in. And that prison is made of thoughts. But the moment you stop believing every thought, you feel it. A crack in the wall, a breath of air, a shift. You're no longer reacting. You're witnessing. And in that space, something radical begins. Freedom. What if the person you think you are was never really you? From the moment you could speak, the world began telling you who to be. Be quiet. Be smart. Be strong. Don't cry. Don't fail. And every command became a thread. Thought by thought, a mask was stitched over your soul. You learned to perform, to shrink, to please, to disappear. You confused approval for love, achievement for worth, silence for strength, and without knowing it, you built an identity out of survival, not authenticity. You told yourself, this is just how I am. But you didn't choose this self. You inherited it from pain, from fear, from people who never saw the real you. This is the danger of believing your thoughts. They shape an identity not based on truth, but on defense. And here's the hardest part. When you begin to question your thoughts, the false self starts to crack. You might feel lost. You might feel empty. But that's not the end. It's the beginning, because beneath the noise of who you were told to be is who you truly are. You've just never met that version of yourself because you were too busy believing the mind. But the mind isn't your enemy. It's just scared. Scared of change. Scared of stillness. Scared of the unknown. Yet everything you long for, peace, clarity, freedom, lives on the other side of that fear. And to reach it, you have to do the unthinkable. Let go of who you think you are. Have you ever sat in a room with no music, no noise, no distractions, and just listened? At first, it's deafening. The mind floods in. What are you doing? You're wasting time. This is uncomfortable. Do something. But if you stay, if you resist the urge to escape, something strange happens. The thoughts start to slow. The voice begins to fade. And for a moment, there's silence. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of presence. A living stillness. You realize your thoughts were never the sky. They were just the weather. Loud, passing, restless, but beneath them something unshakable remains. Call it awareness. Call it soul. Call it the observer. It watches without judging. It sees without reacting. It just is. And in that space, for the first time, you see the storm for what it is. A habit of mind, not a reflection of truth. You've lived so long inside the thoughts that you forgot there's a place outside them. A place where you don't need to fix anything. Don't need to chase anything. Don't need to be anything. You just are. And in that space, life becomes simple again. Not because the chaos disappears, but because you're no longer tangled in it. The silence doesn't erase your problems. It reveals who you are without them. And that's what changes everything. So what happens? When you stop believing every thought, the world doesn't change. But how you see it does. You're no longer pulled into every worry, every judgment, every memory. You see them arise. You let them pass, like clouds drifting, across a sky that no longer frightens you. You begin to choose your actions. Instead of reacting out of fear, you speak not to be accepted, but because your voice matters. You rest, not because you've earned it, but because you're allowed to simply exist. You become less concerned with being someone and more curious about simply being. The mind still whispers. It always will. But now you smile at it. You thank it for trying to protect you. And then you walk on. You start to live from stillness, not survival. From clarity, not confusion. You no longer need every answer. You no longer chase every escape. You no longer beg your mind to make sense of what only your heart understands. And in this quiet, something beautiful grows. Trust, not in the world, not in the mind, but in yourself. The self that has always been there, beneath the noise. This is not a finish line. It's a return to the part of you that never needed fixing, never needed proving, only remembering. You were never your thoughts. You were the one who noticed them. And now that you remember, you're finally free. CTA, let go of the voice so you can finally hear your life speak.